Hi everyone, it's Anna from Sprintax here. Countless universities across the US regularly engage with overseas vendors for the supply of goods and services. Managing the tax implications of these relationships can be a real challenge. Sprintax TDS has released a vendor module to help alleviate this issue. In this overview, we will demonstrate exactly how to use the vendor module and how it can benefit your organization. On the Sprintax TDS dashboard, you have the ability to add vendors with their name and email address. You also have the ability to search vendors in the dashboard. To access the vendors report, you can click on Manage Foreign Vendors, or you can click on Reports and Vendors Report. Depending on the type of vendor, certain fields will be populated in the vendor report as a result of the vendor completing the vendor questionnaire. For example, residency status, type of entity, tax number if applicable, country of residence, or permanent establishment. You can create views and filters in the vendor's report, similar to how you would in the student user report. You can also send activation emails to your vendors from the vendor's report, inviting them to activate their TDS account and complete the TDS vendor questionnaire. Next up is the vendor questionnaire. This can be accessed by selecting on a vendor and selecting on the Edit button. The Foreign Person Determination section collects information on the type of vendor, i.e., are they a foreign individual vendor, such as a sole proprietor, independent contractor, or any other recipient of commissions for services provided independently to the payer of the income? Or are they a foreign entity, such as a corporation, international organization, for example, based outside of the US? It's important to note that depending on the chosen option here, the questionnaire will look different for an individual versus a corporate vendor. First, we will look at the corporate vendor questionnaire. In the permanent establishment section, vendors will be asked to outline a number of details, for example, legal name, foreign tax identification number, country of incorporation. The additional 4 questions aim to determine whether there is a US establishment available to conduct this business, if any of the owners of the foreign entity or the entity itself are US persons or residents of countries different to the country of establishment or incorporation. The entity determination section determines the exact type of vendor for tax purposes. In the addresses section, you'll find addresses and contact information for the vendor. In the finance information section, the income types are listed. Based on the selection made, the particular income types will be listed in the tax questions page, where the amounts for the income types are entered. If the entity has income which is exempt by a treaty, this income will be listed in the tax treaty section. By clicking on the TDS summary at the top of the screen, you'll see summarized information about the foreign entity type, tax identification numbers, country of establishment, and a breakdown of how each paid income is taxed. The tax forms section lists the forms generated by Sprintax TDS for the particular entity, such as the W8 Ben-E. Vendors can simply download their forms, print them, sign them, and provide them to their withholder. Next, we will look at the questionnaire for foreign individuals. If a vendor marks themselves as a foreign individual, the vendor will proceed to a different questionnaire applicable to foreign individuals. The first step is residency. The information provided by the foreign vendor on the residency screen will determine their residency for tax purposes. The vendor must choose the country to which they claim a closer connection to immediately before entering the US. Alternatively, if the vendor does not have a presence in the US, they should select the country to which they claim the closest connection to at the time they perform the services. This is normally where their tax residence is located and where they permanently live. The foreign national vendor must continue through the questionnaire and complete the personal data and the contact details stage. Next up is the finance information section, where the vendor will be asked questions about the income they are receiving. Vendors can indicate the gross amount paid to the foreign vendor in the tax questions section. TDS will provide a residency summary based on the information provided. In the tax treaty section, if there is an applicable tax treaty, it will be displayed on the screen and they can select whether they wish to use this tax treaty exemption or not, if there is one available to them. On the TDS summary screen, you will see summarised information on the foreign vendor along with taxation details of the income to be paid. If there is an applicable tax treaty, Form 8233 will be produced and will be downloadable from the tax forms screen. Any other applicable forms, such as the W8BEN or the W4, will be populated in this section. The recipient of the income, after receiving the form, is required to print, sign, date, and upload a scanned version of the form in the document exchange feature of TDS, where it will be accessible for the payer to download. Sprintax TDS also has the ability to generate 1042S forms for foreign vendors.